Curious about what's blooming in the garden right now? Join me for a late summer tour packed with native plants and pollinator favorites. Perfect for gardeners looking to create a thriving pollinator friendly oasis. Time to take a brief tour of the garden and see what is blooming because this is now the end of summer and my Walter's Viburnum Mrs. Schiller's at the front of the house blooming drupes or fruit. So I've got both things going on. I've got food for migratory birds and I have blooms for pollinators. Now that's a dynamic duo. The circle garden, I have a surprise beard's tongue coming back. Did a video on that one you might want to check out. And it's a delight. I need to make sure that these seed heads get scattered and that I start to clean up out here. Starry rosinweed, I call it the queen of the garden. Look at that blooming its head off, beautiful. The rain is keeping this plant thriving, although it is very hardy. And we've got a bee who's interested in some nectar and pollen on this plant. My purple coneflowers had died back, and now I've got a couple that are blooming for the end of summer for the late flying pollinators. Here is my experiment with a border, and if you have experience with border experiments, let me know. I'm always looking for ideas. This is St. John's wort, and it's not the herb. You can see it's blooming. Now, the larger one that I have over in my pollinator garden bloomed about a month or so ago, just covered. But I'm delighted because this one just got planted in the fall and then it got buried with snow and now it's blooming. Behind it, firebush. This is the native firebush. The leaves are darker and the flowers are darker than the variety that many people buy at the big box stores. Those varieties are the compact, compacta, or densa. They have a little different shaped leaf and their blossoms are not this deep reddish orange. They tend to be more orangish. Behind on the trellis, coral honeysuckle. This plant has been blooming since early spring and it should keep blooming through first frost until hard frost. What a pleasure for the hummingbirds. They're here morning and late afternoon and at dusk. Texas sage. Wow, tripled in size. Lovely kind of lavender pinkish blooms. It's probably around 6 feet. The trellis next to it is 6 feet. So it's just a little bit taller, at least that main leader is a little taller. These blooms are so pretty. And of course, pollinator plant. On the trellis is corky stem passion flower vine. That comes back every year. It likes afternoon shade, which it's getting from these two water oak trees that are behind it. They've survived the hurricane. We lost branches, but they're still providing afternoon shade, which is what the corky stem really needs. I checked it out earlier. So far, no Gulf literary and no zebra longwing butterflies. Stay tuned because they may show up anytime. At the entrance, I have a native grass. This is as large as it gets. It's an Elliott's love grass. This side of the circle garden, the grass has survived the cold and everything. The other side, we'll go over there. I don't know what happened, but they were not happy. Here's where they were. I will fill in with more plants, but right now is not a good time for planting. It's just too hot. I'm walking to my pollinator garden to see if there are any surprises over here. This snow square stem plant, still blooming, has plenty of seed heads on it and plenty of pollinators flying around. I'm just leaving it for now. What I discovered over here hiding is Florida mountain mint. A thrill because I'd had a plant here. I didn't see it come up last year. And here it is blooming, and it looks like there's several stalks coming up, but this one is gorgeous. And being in my pollinator bed, of course, it attracts pollinators. All-time favorite late summer bloomer. This is narrow leaf ironweed. Its cousin, giant ironweed, grows to 8 feet. Look out across the bed, you'll see this plant may be at 3 feet. Nothing like that 8-foot plant that got knocked over, roots pulled up out of the ground when we had the hurricanes. It has to be late summer into the fall when my elephant foot ground cover shows up. I love how the basil leaves look. Someone said, well, it's got that name because they look like elephant's feet. I'm not sure that's so, but that's the name of it. Interesting little flowers. I love how the little blooms come out, and the pollinators are crazy about this plant. So for max fly time for pollinators, which is right now, this was a good choice to put in. And it does spread. This is an older one that I planted when I moved up here. And this is new to this year, and it spread from one of the seeds that dropped. Here's the tag that tells the name of the plant. When I can, I put in some cards so that I can remember what should be coming up if the plant is deciduous and dies back. The last big surprise was, look at this. I propped this up on this Yopon holly next to it because I found it like that lying on the ground, and I wondered, what is this plant? And then I thought, well, I planted liatris out here, and when I propped it up, here is the liatris bloom on the tip. All of these are flower buds, and I discovered another over here. The flowers are blooming, and then I turned around, and right behind me, there's one that had fallen across this dotted horse mint. This part looks like it's died back, but this same plant is thriving. So it's relocating itself from where I planted it originally, but the liatris is using it as a prop. Those are my garden surprises for today. So what a pleasure just to come and check out what's growing. Thanks for exploring the garden with me. If you love native plants and want more tips on attracting pollinators, don't forget, subscribe. Garden Yay! Happy gardening to all, and I'll see you again soon.